As a professional gardener, I love my tools, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that. As a gardener, probably the key tool, or at least the most recognisable, is the Secateur. For many years I've used Felco Secateurs. Over that period of time I've come to really like the tools that I have and want to look after them and get the best out of them. Obviously, in the case of secateurs, that's sharpening, looking after them, cleaning them, and oiling and greasing them. Well, what happens when the secateur gets to a point where it can't be repaired or it's just not performing at its best? With Felco, the great thing is that you can obviously replace all of the parts and you can get back to a new secateur. That can be quite expensive. A new blade can be nearly £20 when the secateur themselves can cost, granted these days, nearly £60, but that's obviously a large proportion of it. And with the anvil, which is obviously another key part of the cutting process and is often overlooked and not easy to sharpen, you're going to end up with spending nearly 30 quid to replace all of the parts that you need to get that tool back to operational condition. So in that context, it's like, well, just buy a new one. What if you've grown attached to the tool that you have? That's where Felco's servicing option comes in. Now, they run through a company called Burton McCall, and you can send off your secateurs. It's about £30 for a full service. They'll replace all of the parts. And that's exactly what I did over Christmas with my secateurs. So I packaged up my secateurs and sent them off over Christmas whilst I wasn't working. Now, it's claimed to take about 30 days for the process, and even over Christmas, the secateurs did come back within that 30-day period, which was quite impressive because they weren't working over a proportion of that as well. I was really interested to see what they'd actually done and how much, whether it was value for money or not. They've replaced the grips, which were damaged. The aluminium handles are been sort of sandblasted or treated, so they're nice and clean as well. But it's also nice to know that they are the original handles as well, so that it's not a complete triggers broom situation. Maybe more crucially, in terms of the cut quality and, you know, the value for money side of things, is that they've replaced the anvil and the blade. So we've got a full new blade on there, and you can see the proper profile of it. The anvil is now brand new and returned to that sharp cutting edge. They have replaced all the screws, which wasn't necessarily necessary, but I'm sure is easier for them to do. Basically, you've got a brand new secateur that's an old secateur, which for anyone who's grown attached to the secateurs makes it a really good option. It means you don't have to buy a new one. It's still relatively expensive, so I wouldn't recommend doing it every single year unless you use your secateurs crazily. But as a service, just to replace particularly that anvil or get a new blade combo after, say, 2 years or something of use, then I think it's a really good option. The only criticism I had with it was that either they didn't put any grease in the pivot here, or they didn't put enough in, or you're not supposed to. But anyway, I put grease in it, and I prefer it to have grease in it, and it didn't have grease in it when it came. So I've just taken it apart and put grease in there. But that was the only sort of difference to what I was expecting. But otherwise, a really good service. I will leave a link to them in the description so you can read all about them, and if you want to check them out, use the service yourselves. And if you like the video, don't forget to hit that like button and maybe consider subscribing for more videos like this. And that just leaves me to say thanks again for watching. Bye for now.